All right, welcome to the Athens Film Festival 2025 creator interviews. Today, I'm sitting down with Brian Redding, writer and director of American Deadbolt. Brian, thanks so much for sitting down with me. How you
Yeah,
doing?
great. So happy to be here. Very excited to help spread the word about the Athens Film Festival.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for sitting down. I guess we'll just jump right on into it, though, just to kind of introduce people to American Deadbolt. You've got a story that unfolds during a July 4th terrorist attack, trapping people in a safe room, and this is your set. Where did this concept first take shape for you?
What was that? I'm sorry.
Oh, how did this concept first take shape for you? Where did this idea
Oh,
come from?
it's kind of it's sort of it actually sprung to my mind several years ago, to be honest with you. And like most things in life, unfortunately, this is a reality I think we contend with. But a couple years ago, there was actually a horrific set of shootings in Paris, France, believe it or not.
Mhm.
And I love Paris. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. And but a couple years ago, some people went around and started shooting at the alfresco diners out in Paris, France. And it mortified me as such an attack on what such a cultural thing of what the Paris experience is and in general. And I actually saw some video online of the inside of a restaurant right it happened, and it was so fast and it was so horrific. And you can't help but start thinking, what would I do in a situation like that? How do you even react? How do you think? And I think that sort of planted the seeds there about what would happen. And kind of toppled on top of that is I also read another report. There was a famous musician that was in Paris at the time, and when the attacks happened, they didn't know what was going on. It was confusing, it was chaos, and they actually locked them in the back office, in the office of the restaurant. And
Wow.
they sat there just listening to radio in this back office, trying to figure out what was going on. And for some reason, those two events, I just started really thinking, it just kind of stuck with me, and I just felt there was a need to tell a story of what that would be. I thought that was a really dramatic illustration of the human condition and of putting people in those extreme situations. And I just felt kind of compelled to write a story about it. And that's where American Deadbolt came from.
Yeah, oh my goodness, it definitely comes from, real life, extremely intense situations that unfortunately are really present for us. It's interesting though that you go with an example internationally, when obviously this is, American based story here, and we have gun violence in our own country, obviously. Uh, can you talk about how, I guess, your research was for this? If, who did you talk to kind of get a better idea of the story that you wanted to tell?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a couple of different areas. I think, a big part about the theme and the tonality of it, honestly, a part of this came for me. Uh, I'm just like most people, I think, in the country. The divisiveness in the country we're suffering right now, the polarization in the country, it's very frustrating. It feels like we've sort of become so entrenched, and people, they just want to be right. They don't really care about what the reality is. They don't care about actually doing anything. And I think that polarization of America was something that I think frustrates people left or right. It's across the political divide, and that really seeped into this situation of putting Americans together in a tense situation, but they're not really communicating. They're kind of at odds, just trying to entrench themselves. That really factored in. And then I also, as a commercial director and a music video director, I've worked a lot in the past with law enforcement and military people and with clients and stuff like that in those sectors. And so I've gotten a chance to have lots of conversation with law enforcement people and military people about these sort of attacks. And it's just something that you'll quiz them about and just kind of ask, I think we read about it on the news, but I think we sort of disengage that human element sometimes. We've become so desensitized to the idea. So I found it really interesting talking to people that actually go there and deal with these situations and some of their experiences, I found to be very, very enlightening and interesting as I was researching it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness. I mean, yeah, that intensity definitely. I mean, I also think, how do you, what are the challenges when writing about something that is, real and pervasive and prevalent for us that we go through today? And keeping it, this is a fictional story, but keeping it, I guess, in nonfiction narrative entertain or fictional narrative entertainment about a non-fictional event that people deal with. Did you face that as an issue, or were there any other, notable challenges when writing the script?
No, I mean, for me, when I was writing the script, I just really the big things that I wanted to focus on when I was writing it was there's a thing called the fog of war, and that's that
Mhm.
situation where I think when crisis situations happens, we like to pretend we can figure out what's going on, but I know in my experience with crisis situations and most people out there, there's a bit of fog. You never really you have to operate without knowing all the variables, all the information. You have to try and make the best decision based on that. And that was a very big idea when I was doing this. And then just sort of, playing off what I would consider it was very important for me not to make a film that was politically one way or another. I really wanted to just make a film about polarization, not about right versus left, and what the effects of polarization are, and that's really those are the kind of the themes that I sort of just cemented around when I was writing the film.
Right. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And I think you succeeded in that. Absolutely. And I guess moving past the more political aspects, the tension is between the characters, obviously, too. There's a lot of claustrophobia and suspense in this setting inherently. What were the conversations like with your actors to kind of, rehearse that, or what was your guidance as a director for this, building suspense throughout the film too?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Yeah, I think it's we were so fortunate in this movie to get as close to dream cast as you could hope to get. The actors were all terrific. They all their performances are great. They were all so committed and really did it. And I think when you're talking to each of these actors, I always like to say, you know, one quote that I always think is a it's just a good way of dealing with people, I think, in life in general. But everyone thinks they're the hero of their own story, right? So
Mm.
a villain doesn't really ever see themselves as a villain. They're right. They have motivation and reasoning for that. So when I was meeting with each of my actors and talking about it, what was important for me was just letting them discussing where that character was coming from, what the background was, and maybe what their reality was, and why they would think the other person was wrong, to think anything else like that. And just kind of establish those barriers between the actors. And they all were so collaborative and so intelligent, and really pushed me as a director when I was talking to them, making sure that there was basis and reason, and these were fully fleshed out characters. And so that was a uh really just enjoyable aspect of being a director, is working with actors who allow you to take these pages and words off a script and live and breathe life into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. And what a strong cast that this film does have, obviously. And even I think I read too that the cast is largely Georgia based, if this is true, I think, and a very strong, obviously, local talent pool. How important was it to feature local actors in telling this type of story for you?
Well, I mean, we really wanted, there's practical considerations, there's budget considerations, but there's so much talent here in the state of Georgia. And one thing that was really important for us when we're doing this film was also we just wanted to showcase the viability of filming outside of Atlanta or
Mm,
Savannah necessarily, and showing that there are other metro locations in Georgia that have viable film ecosystems in place. And a film is a big process. It's not a director and a cinematographer. It's the grips, it's the PAs, it's the you know the feeding the people. It's the actors, it's the costumes, it's the hair and makeup. It's a big group of people. And when you make a film, that's one of the things you want to showcase is that there's an infrastructure that can support that kind of idea. So having that from the actors on down was really important for us to showcase in an ability. And at the point, Jade Fernandez was still living in Athens. She's recently moved, but she was still living in Athens. Jason Warner Smith living here in Athens. Clifton lives right in Atlanta. Laura Slade Wiggins was actually raised here in the Athens area. So it was great to get all these talented people that were right coming from the Peach Strait and could help represent some of the talent level that we have here locally, and just hopefully inspire other filmmakers to go out there and make stuff right in their backyard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we talked before the interview about this, but this was like the first film, one of the first to film at Athena Studios here in Athens. And this was also, proudly a filmed in Georgia project, obviously, with, local crew and post production support that you mentioned. What has this meant for you, to contribute to the growth of Athens as a filmmaking hub and, break ground in this production space?
Yeah, I mean it's really exciting to see that, because I think Athens has a lot to offer. Uh, and I think it's the culture of Athens is unique. As someone that has lived in a couple places before he settled in Athens and now has lived in Athens for 25 years, um, one thing that just really strikes you in Athens is the collaborative artistic nature of the community here. You really have a situation. It's really unique. It's not cutthroat. Artists try and elevate and help each other on different projects and provide resources and provide materials and provide aid. So to have a culture like that that's now making these big collaborative things is really exciting. And now what you have other filmmakers starting to come up like Alexander Zane, and you have now you have producers starting to come into Athens, and that's really the key. You need people that are not just the creatives in Athens. You also need the money. You need the financiers. You need the producers. Those kind of people are so important to come in that know how to finance and get these projects off the ground. And so building that infrastructure is really important. We have what I think is really exciting here in Athens is, we had American Deadbolt come out. We just had Aaron Strand come out with Withdrawal, which is another really fantastic movie that was filmed within just a couple weeks
Yes.
of us. And now that's running around. I mean, it's so exciting to see that. You have Keith Plummer, who's a fantastic local director who came out with a movie not too long ago. So you have, the key here is it can't be one filmmaker that creates something. You need a nexus of a community of
Mhm.
filmmakers making, and that's the key. And so I talked with my producers before we made Deadbolt, and one of the things we were talking about is just like it's almost like starting the Athens music scene. It's not one band, it's a scene. You need multiple filmmakers, you need
Mhm.
multiple artists coming together. And so it's exciting to see that coming out. And I'll be honest, I'm so pumped right now that, Aaron Strand is out there with Withdrawal at the same time we're out there with American Deadbolt. It's so cool seeing these two films that were shot in this Athens area out there bouncing around on the film circuit. Just really fun to see that.
Yes, absolutely. I interviewed Aaron a few weeks ago, and
Okay.
it's another amazing Athens-based creator and project, obviously. And you're right, like that community building. We need, more than just one person and obviously one film. It's more expansive than that. You also even brought on interns from UGA's MFA film program. I know you mentioned like you had partnerships going deep in the community. It seemed like, more than just, obviously more than just yourself and, four people on cast and crew. It's like you had a production going on here. How did, having students on set even shape that production experience out of curiosity?
Yeah, it was. We had a wonderful experience working with UGA, working with the MFA department. Um, And, just the thing that we just discovered is it for us, I think there's a certain reality if you're a smaller independent film that you just have to deal with financially. And it can be tough to fill all your positions, especially when you're in Athens, because Athens is outside of that main Atlanta circuit. And what we found here is we found an eager, excited group of people that were willing to learn. And what we did is we brought in our department heads, were people that we've worked with for years, so we could give those students a real, it wasn't charity. We paid the students, everybody was paid on our set, and they got to work with real people. They got great experience on that set, and the best thing is they weren't driving to Atlanta to go do this, or
Mhm.
and they're getting this IMDb credits and all that stuff. So for our students, they loved the fact that they could do this locally. It was right in their backyard, and the we were also small enough that we were willing to work with them, answer any questions, and work intimately with them. So we I couldn't speak more about what a great experience that was. And even my department heads liked it because, the students, they're not coming in completely blind. They have some idea because they've been trained
Mhm.
at MFA. We did have some Georgia Film Academy people as well on the set, so they're coming in with a background, but they're still learning and they're still growing. And it was a really wonderful symbiotic relationship that helped us as an independent film support local students, because UGA obviously is a big part of the Athens environment, and it helped them get that real world experience.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's amazing. And I'm so like happy to hear you like promote that and be proud of that in this project. Absolutely. Like I feel we have so much creativity in this town, as you've mentioned, and so much of a community just being built that's already, forming. And that's just amazing to hear. But I also know that this production had some significant hurdles, I think, with the SAG strike to, windstorm knocking out power,
Oh yeah.
technical to very broad national issues. How did you and your team navigate these obstacles on this set?
Whew. Um, that that was a every movie is a challenge and a set of miracles, really, that kind of come together. I think, one thing that we had discovered was, we were shooting this film right as the actor strike was getting ready to happen, and we actually spent several months before the movie happened getting clearance to shoot our movie. As a matter of fact, we got clearance specifically. My wonderful producer Chris Hines was on a first name basis with both the SAG national office in LA and the SAG Georgia office here in Atlanta. Um, we had gotten clearance specifically from SAG. Now, what we were told before the strike happened was, we hadn't had any pre-solds, and none of our producers in our movie were affiliated with the AMPTP, which is who the SAG was striking against. Because of that, we were given clearance by SAG. They said, "Look, you have no one on your team that's part of the strike. You can talk to your actors individually, and if they agree, they can work because they're not technically in violation of the striking workers." So we got permission. We actually started shooting. The first day of our shoot was on a Thursday, which was the day of the strike. We actually drove into set, and I was driving to set and heard about the strike on the radio. And I'm like, "We're cool. We got permission from SAG. Everything's okay." Um, got home that night, and the actors had gotten an all caps email from SAG National saying, "Even if we've given you permission to be on a shoot, if you show up tomorrow, you're out." So
Oh
we
my.
got shut down by SAG, even though we got permission
Mm.
from SAG. So certainly it was a really, really huge challenge to get shut down like that. I've never actually been on a set that got shut down after you started shooting. Usually that happens before you start. Um,
Yeah.
and we were lucky in the fact that because my producer had been on such a diligent base with them, that the SAG representative said, "Look, we're going to get you." Decided to create a new waiver form, and we're going to let you get waived. And
Wow.
we had to wait 3 days before it came out and could get approved. But once we got approved, once we started, we were one of, I think, when we were shooting, we were one of only like 20 or 25 productions in the entire United States of America that were cleared by SAG to shoot. At that point, we got clearance
Wow.
right away, and we were able to go and finish the shoot. So we had that, got back on set, and then lo and behold, we had a freak storm come through. It was like almost a tornado. I'm not sure what happens, but it took out the entire power grid on that side of Athens, and we lost another 2.5 days of
Gosh.
shooting because the power was out and we couldn't get the power on. So yeah, so definitely a lot of challenges there, but we were able to buck through. And I think we had everyone who was working on the project was fantastic and believed in us and stuck with us, and we were able to get it through.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, what a persevering story on that. I didn't realize it was, I mean, only 20 25 projects filming in the country at the time. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was pretty funny to see that. And we were really thankful that SAG was able to sit there and do that, but we just had never expected beforehand to get shut down. So that was a very big cost burden for us. Um, and then when you get to post production, you've burned all that money, and
Mm.
when you're doing that, the camera equipment's there, the people are in hotels, and so you're literally just lighting $100 bills every day,
Yeah.
waiting for that clearance until it goes. So, and for a budget as small, a production as small as ours, that was a real challenge to overcome. So we were very thankful. But at the same time, it's very important to respect the people that work for you. The actors were doing that, so we didn't want to put our actors in any kind of jeopardy of losing their SAG membership. So we played by the rules and did it right. But it made us sweat. It made us sweat a little bit. That's
Yeah.
for certain.
Oh my goodness. Well, kudos to you for pushing, all of you for pushing through all that stress to make this project come to life.
Yeah.
Now this film I think is touring through the filmed in Georgia initiative, quote unquote.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, isn't that exciting? Oh my gosh. I mean, having completed this project, even with its stressors and hurdles, what advice would you give to other Georgia-based filmmakers trying to create compelling locally made features?
Yeah, I just think it's so important. I think it is so difficult to make any film these days. And, I think it's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to get discouraged if you're not a filmmaker. And, like you take us, none of us have any Hollywood connections. None of us have any industry connections. We're just artisans that want to tell stories and do this. And so it's important to have networks and stuff that can support and invest in people and do that. And that's one of the things that even from the beginning of this movie, the secondary goal, of course, we need to get the movie out, but it was always to raise awareness and call attention and generate stimulus for filmmaking here. And you need a base to do that. And so having things like Figa that are out there that are specifically structured to give that lifeline to up and coming Georgia filmmakers and other things like that is just so important, because the night can get dark sometimes when you're trying to put all these elements together and scraping for the money. And you need to know that there's people out there that are supporting you and not just fighting against you, because you run a lot of headwinds. So having a helping hand is such a great positive thing to have back there.
Absolutely. And oh my gosh, we're just so excited here over at the festival just that we have such a proudly Georgia and Athens made film to get to support for the future of Georgia filmmaking. And in spite of everything that seems to have tried to push back and putting the pieces together in the night, as you say. Um, I guess though I have a more fun question. I guess to take off some of the industry talk. What are four movies, like a letterboxd four is a trend going on right now, that you would recommend somebody to watch before this film if they're looking forward to seeing it at the festival, or after if they want a taste of more? It could be references, things that you find related. Um, Go crazy. Honestly, I like getting film recommendations from this question.
Yeah, this is a fun question. I'd say there's certain films that are sort of spiritually in line with what American Deadbolt would be. I mean, one movie that I bring up is just Hard Candy. Um,
Mm.
it's a super intense one that takes place in a relatively concealed location. Two actors, just really intense. A really just ooh, that's an intense one right there. Um, I've got to go back to the old school classic of 12 Angry Men,
Mm.
which just does a fantastic job of lots of personalities in a confined environment. Um, Really, that gets attention just through just through debate and drama. I think that's certainly an aspirational one. Beautiful blocking and cinematography for such restraints. Definitely something that I think should inspire most filmmakers out there. You know, I've got to say, I'm a huge Kurosawa fan as well. Um, so I don't think you can ever go wrong watching any Kurosawa. I would say
Mm-hmm.
there could be a bit of a Rashomon component. When characters don't clearly define or their perspective maybe creates a reality that's maybe not the reality. I think we all live with that in day to day life. And so when you have characters in a confined environment having that sort of defined reality different than others, I think that could probably be an influence here as well. So those are probably, I'm sure there's 40 others that you could come up with, but I think those are pretty good ones to maybe look as a spiritual friends for it. Last word work.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Well, I'll make sure to add those to the list. Thank you. I always love when a writer director gives me, some references, something that they find related or inspiring about, certain works, especially connected to their project.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's a lot of fun when you're writing. You also end up, of course, you study what you consider effective, and and what's funny is sometimes you'll watch a film that's in a completely different genre, but it'll inspire you as
yeah.
well. So I certainly think that's just you find that inspiration and sometimes in surprising places. It's kind of one of the fun things about the medium of film is just
Mhm.
how certain aspects may inspire you to do one thing or another. So
Right. Oh my gosh. And yeah, we love it here, obviously, as a film
yeah,
festival.
yeah.
Um, well, you've been so amazing to talk to and listen to about the industry and your process and, the work that you've put into this. And we're so excited to celebrate it. I guess as we're kind of pushing towards the end here and I've soundboxed off a bit, I would just ask, I guess, one of my last questions for you. What do you hope is something that people catch when they leave when they after they've seen this film? What's like a feeling you hope they walk away with, a thought or a moment that you hope they pick up and grab onto?
Ooh, man, that's a good question. Um, I want people to walk away thinking about what it means to polarize yourself. I mean, I think one
Mhm.
of the not to spoil the film, but I think uh, all there's a lot of clues in the film about what potentially could be going or not going on, and what happens is you have the characters don't take the time to bring the pieces together, and they kind of remain sort of in their own corners, and that leads uh, to not the best outcome for some characters. And I think that it's just about that idea of polarization and just how dangerous it can be. It doesn't matter what your political side is. It's if you completely refuse to communicate with someone who's coming from a different side, just what kind of dangers that could lead you to.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. I love that answer. I mean, I think that you have definitely succeeded in bring that thought out in me. I was definitely left like watching, thinking that like, okay, yeah, there's a lot here to to think about. I mean, obviously not even just specific to a side, but in extremism. I think absolutely.
And you
Um,
you you hope you've made something that's at least entertaining enough that I mean I did try and shoot the movie. I edited the movie. I essentially edited two movies.
mm,
So in one movie, you want to edit it so the first time someone is watching it, they see certain things. But then I also edit it that if you go back and watch it a second time, you're going to see stuff that leads you to an understanding that, oh, I didn't pick up on that clue the first time I saw it, but it's pretty obvious now. If you follow certain clues, there's an edit that shows you exactly what was actually going on in the thing as well. But you want to hide it so you don't give it away in the first viewing. But if you come back a second time, you
right.
hopefully can pick up on those clues on the second viewing.
Nice. Well, I can't wait for my second viewing at the festival then, in that case. Well, Brian, you've been so amazing. I guess my last question is just what's next for you? Or, I mean, you've got the whole wide world open. I mean, at least Georgia.
Yeah, I think we're gonna just do a festival run here for the movie. We're talking with some distributors. We're probably gonna do some self distribution. I think throughout the state of Georgia, really promote FIGA to try and raise awareness for the films in Georgia, and do that for the next couple months. Probably carry us through the year. I think in January we'll probably start doing some on. We'll probably do some online. Be able to purchase it online, and then for me personally. I'm just focusing on. I do a lot of commercial work. I love doing that as well. I've got two other scripts. That one script I have that's already written. It's a musical heist movie that really really excited about. Would love to shoot that. And I'm currently writing a time travel murder mystery movie right now. So in the process of writing that script, hope to have that done in the next month or two as well. So hopefully I'll get a platform at some point to be able to tell those stories as well, and see what else we can do with it.
Oh my goodness. Well, how exciting. Oh my gosh. And where can people find out more about you and these projects you're talking about?
I have a website, brianredding.com. And then I do suffer from high range hearing loss. So I'm deaf in all high range hearing. So I actually have a YouTube channel called Deaf Director. And if you want to follow me on YouTube, I'm on Deaf Director. I'm posting every week there. A good way for me. It's a more techie film based channel, but that's always a great way to get a hold of me as well. And then we have AmericanDeadbolt.com is a website that people can go and find out more about the movie, merchandising, and what we're up to, where we're showing, and where we'll ultimately be able to buy the video on demand.
Amazing. Oh my goodness. Well, we'll be sure to link everybody that way. Go check out all of your projects and work. But thank you so much for your time here today. This has been great, and we can't wait to see you at the festival.
Okay, great. Well, I'm so excited. So excited to be part of the Athens Film Festival and just promote film here in Athens. And it's such a great festival. I think hopefully people can come out and just enjoy the experience of Athens and film all combined in one thing, and just really excited to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Well, we're happy and grateful to have you here as well. But thank you so much for your time and talking with me today to help promote all of this. And have a great rest of your night.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you
All
then.
right, bye bye.